And guys, the Paladins Pro Circuit community broadcast. I'm here, Fawn, with Kresnik once again as we get right into the Brazilian bracket. I'm going to be excited to see these two teams duke it out, that's for sure. And, hello from the demons that are currently possessing my drawer once again as the drawers refuse to close. But we can't really say the same about these games as we're going to get started in a minute.
Yeah, and Fawn, before we get into this, I really want to say, what were we just listening to? 15
I don't know, actually.
15 seconds before we went live, we just bursted out laughing. I saw people in chat confused. I might need to do something about the playlist for that one, but I'm definitely, that aside, Parallax versus Tempest, on paper,
right,
not the most competitive set. I mean,
True.
You have a team that is 7-0, and a team that I believe is 0-7. So when you look at it like that, it is not the going to be the easiest game for Tempest team. But again, they're this team that has just taken maps off of kind of random teams. A lot of the time, I feel like they keep taking of rounds. They maybe take one map, but they just don't close out the set no matter what. I do think things are going to be a little harder for them, though, after some roster changes. I believe they've brought back Darius, but kept Walther on the flex DPS. So these minor little changes that maybe kind of hurt them as we go on. But we all know Parallax. I mean, literally, I try to avoid it, but I feel like every single time we try to talk about Parallax, about any team in Brazil, it just comes back to Parallax. So like, wow, what a great performance by In Control, but could they beat Parallax? Like, it's just, they're this enigma floating over the region that we can just never avoid talking about.
I mean, and that's what the deal is, right? I mean, like you said, 7-0, a 17 map differential, just always in the positives, barely losing even any maps. I don't even believe they have even lost a map, and you have Tempest team all the way at the bottom that has the flip side of that. They're not 17, they're negative 17. So although they have the small changes of the roster change, it really will depend on how these teams duke it out today, especially in the case of the bottom seed fighting the top seeded team. This isn't going to be easy for Tempest team. They really have to dig deep for this one, find some footing to see if they can try and take at least one, maybe even one map off of Parallax Gaming, even if they don't take the entire set.
Yeah, and before we go into picks and bans, I do want to mention that the map bans for this game are Fish Market and Warder's Gate, banned by Tempest team, who are going to be the team walking away with first pick in this game. And Parallax responded with, looks like, Bazaar and Shattered Desert, the same two bans from the second pick last time. So definitely, because you see some consistency across the regions, even if we don't see it in the draft phase, we're definitely seeing it in the map ban phase. The pick for this first map, though, Tempest team, they want to go to Ice Mines. And for me, I feel like Parallax is great at ice mines. We see them pick up a bunch of different things on this map and win with it. I'm kind of surprised the Tempest want to be taking them here, as we should be able to head into the picks and bans.
Yeah, and what a map to start off on, right? I mean, we've consistently gone back to this map time and time again to really label it as the great equalizer. People pick this map first to slow things down, not typically how to start off a match. But I mean, if you feel confident in the pick, then by all means, go for it. Strix is going to find his way into the ban column first and foremost on the side of Tempest team. And it makes sense. You can hold a lot of those longer angles with that Strix. And Victor is going to be the response ban on the side of Parallax Gaming.
It almost seems like a target to Mitau a little bit when you see Strix get banned. Remember, he used to be one-tricking it for a little while there earlier, so they just don't want to have to deal with him playing that champion on this map where it can be pretty effective. Well, but the next ban of Rom kind of nips that in the bud. If they're targeting Mitau, I don't think Rom would be the immediate follow-up to that ban-wise. And Parallax, I feel like they can play a little bit of everything, so I want to see where they try to go. And they play a little bit more of the Ice Mines game. They get rid of that Terminus, so they don't have to deal with that Siphon on this map with all these tight little choke points.
And then you also have Rom to find his way into the ban column beforehand, but no Ruckus this time around. I mean, I guess Brazil hasn't really been the type of region that we've seen that's typically gotten rid of that Ruckus before, but even at the same time, they do find it more of a threat to get rid of the Rom. Atlas is the first pick here, though. It's going to be already a pretty strong tank for them. With the Nara being left open, I'm not too sure how I feel about that one. I mean, I feel like they're trying to counteract the dive. I mean, if you get rid of the Rom, you know what Parallax likes to play, then clearly you want to try and counter out that dive. And Ash and Bomb King are going to be the first two lock-ins on Parallax's side right now. And I feel like that's already a pretty strong composition. But Tempest team, they seem like they have something planned here.
Yeah, with the ultimate, I think with the Fernando to get aggressive, he can do quite a bit with that. Immortal also counteract the Bomb King, maybe just wanting something that can react to what Parallax are doing if Tempest don't feel like they can be the team that's going for, you know, the execute, right? If they don't think they can execute on Parallax, be the team that has the response in what they have. And I think Corvus, Nando, Atlas can do that so far. They have a lot of reactive ultimates that'll let them survive or that will stop someone from doing the middle of their play. But Parallax, they have... What an Ice Mines draft they have so far,
Tiberius,
honestly.
okay.
Ash, Barrick, and BK and Tiberius, excuse me. BK Tiberius is going to do a ton of damage, especially buffed with that Luminary, and Tempest might need a little bit more sustain to actually make it through all that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's already a strong draft for Parallax Gaming, not even because of the dive potential they have off of the back of Ash, but you not only locked in one of the 2 pocket picks that we see so prominently, but you have Bomb King and Tiberius to really deal with a lot of those choke points. So you got to be careful when you're fighting against them. I believe that might be why they drafted the Zen and Sha Lin, if they feel comfortable enough to do that. I'm a little bit more so worried about, well, I wasn't going to say Barrick, but since he's here now, I mean, might as well mention him, if anything, right? Barrick is here, and he's in the game.
He's gonna do a bit of damage. Dome Shield is why you pick him, right? Most of the time,
that makes complete sense.
His shields are the only real reason you pick him. His sustain without them is relatively low, but he's actually not super hard countered by what they have on their side. There's no hit scan. That's kind of been what we've say is a problem for him. And plus, if whoever's going to be playing that, I'm assuming it's going to be Kronz on the Barrack. If Kronz is running the card that gives him some resets on his turrets going down, Xin can't not hit him with a heavy swing. There's ways, especially with the Fernando, the Atlas, these things are going to destroy the turrets whether they want them to or not, and he can get a little bit more value out of it. He can kind of get those resets and sustain better than we're used to seeing Barrack be able to live.
Yeah, and I mean, you have the Shaolin as well to sort of stop things in their tracks for Ash in case she tries to prevent anything, or in case she tries to force anything, into the back line of Tempest team. But I'm a little bit more concerned about both Tiberius and Bomb King. That Shaolin's not going to have an easier time. Sure, Shapiru can get into the back, but I mean, how do you feel like he's going to fare into a composition like that? Do you feel like he's just going to die instantly? Like, what's the Zen's game plan here? Is he also playing back line? Like, I'm trying to figure out what their plan is here on the side of Tempest team.
He might just be looking to maybe use his guillotine to execute, right? If he's running guillotine, okay, he is just looking to execute those tanks and maybe making that work at the end of the day. As I take a look at the talents, I like seeing Deja Vu from their side. I think that will help them live through the reactive game plan, and I think that plays more into what Shapiro is going to be doing. He's going to be holding back, waiting for them to commit, maybe gets aggressive if they give it to him, but otherwise they're just trying to play safe and stop Parallax from running them over.
Already, you get some early dismounts through the gate thanks to Genos, but everyone's already made it to their positionings at this point, as now the Fernando shield is getting broken down, and you have Shapiro, that's going to be the first one picked off on the side of Tempest team. Shaolin already having a bit of trouble trying to hold that ground. Ash has pushed her way all the way up onto the side here and forced him out of the high ground. Now they're all huddled back towards their spawn a little bit, as they have to try and wait for one of their members to make it back to even see if they can regain some kind of control here, as the retake is the type of game they need to play right now. Many chakrams being tossed out by Tiberius, heavy blade as well. It's going to seem like he's going to be brought low, as Midtown now has to reconsider his options here. Same thing for Dentek. They have to find some sort of way out, but even still, they gain so much control and they lose a member on the way to try and contest the point.
Yeah, they just can't make it in. Nando's going to try to touch, but it's just an inevitability at this point, I think, with Parallax running away with this first mid, and they do. Brutal, I think that actually would have ended even faster if Xin hadn't countered the heavy blade from the Tiberius. It would have cleaved the entire team, but he deleted it from existence with that shield earlier. Walter's still alive in the back, and I think this is something that will help Tempest maybe live. If he can just keep drawing people away, he doesn't even have to get a kill. He just has to keep these two distracted for the rest of Tempest to walk in.
Already 2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining, if anything. I mean, they just captured the points. They've got plenty of time, and it seems like Tempest's team have plenty of kills on their side, as now they've put the shoe on the other foot, forced things back against Parallax Gaming, as Ash gets melted down almost instantly, thanks to a good spite from Zen. Now Shapiro is going to keep his hold on the front lines here. Same thing for the Shaolin with a triple kill already popping off. Everyone else on the side of Parallax Gaming has to try and find some sort of way back. When you get 3 members picked off like that, you're not going to make it back to the card anytime soon.
Yeah, no way for them to get back quite yet, but they have time and ultimates if they want to be able to spend them, and they're already spending one. Blade Dance so aggressive, actually just going to go behind them and force them all to turn around and deal with them.
Now Midtow, very, very well done in terms of his ultimate, using it to force them to back up like you were just saying. That way they have to answer him now. Shaolin's already being sent back to see if they can deal with him. Fernando has to back up too. Outlander, Dintig, both of them get a kill apiece, all for the price of none on the side of Tempest team, as they haven't found any sort of kill. Very well played by Midtow. I loved how he used that ultimate to retake the objective here, and it's been pushing the entire time. No one's been able to stop him, and now Shaolin, he might get staggered out.
Yeah, he does there, but it is still a 1-for-1, and the spawns are better now for Tempest team being so close. But you're right, the Blade Dance being used for super mobility, that's the best use of it easily. It lets Tiberius get away with this kind of thing and be kind of all over them. But Tempest, their defense is so split right now. I don't know why Insane is pushing that alone. He's Nano, he can't make that work, and Parallax is going to keep this cart rolling.
Fernando already goes down. You do have the Dome Shield available to Parallax Gaming, as 4 ultimates are up. Seems like they're trying to hold on for as long as possible, but Ash, I can't see him to hold on to it for much longer. They do lock themselves down up in the high ground already with a nice double kill. Is the Tiberius, as Barrett finds one. Now, the Void gripped Fernando is going to have to try and contest for as long as he can, as the shield will eventually get broken. It seems like the game's going to get paused for a little bit, but even at that point in time, it doesn't look too great for Tempest team. I mean, they have the sort of draft to stop the dive, but I mean, okay, great. You're able to stop one character that on the side of Parallax Gaming that's diving into the back line, right? Like Shaolin, he can't hold the sight lines against the Tiberius because of the space it is that he's creating with those chakras. He just can't do it. It's hard when you're getting hit for 750 and you have to deal with the combat trance, right? So I mean, it's a tall order to ask of not only Shaolin but of Shapiru as well. He can't really find those openings he's been looking for. He can't really play back. I don't really think Zen can even do that effectively, and it doesn't seem to have been working out for Tempest team so far.
Yeah, it hasn't been. This might help it work out, because they're spending a really important ultimate for this, in my opinion, using that Immortal to try to stay alive, and the Exile, everything, even the Entropic Breach, just to hold on desperately.
And that's what they have to do. They have to find some sort of way to hold on. So many ultimates spent. But can they actually manage to do it? Ash goes down, so it's looking great for them right now. They're already one member missing. Barrett falls soon after that. And that is going to end up tying things up on the side of blue. Tempest team are going to hold on with a shred of percentage that they have left, if anything. But they've lost so many ultimates because of this, Kresnik. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to fare on this point fight, especially when they weren't holding on that well in the beginning last round.
Yeah, it was a tough one, and you would think that going into the later fights, the ultimates will make a difference, but Tempest have literally nothing. Halfway to a Heat Haze, which doesn't even, I think, fare that well into what they have on the other side, so tough one for them. Tiberius now also has Record 3, which is going to make the Nando's life a little bit tougher, but it helps the Atlas a little bit. It helps anybody else who's getting pocketed by that Corvus, because that's one more person on the team who can't spread Cauterize. That's going to be able to kind of benefit from that as we go in. And I mentioned this before, but Kronz, when you're playing against a team like this that will be destroying your turrets, just run one-man scrap 5. It actually gives you quite a bit of your cooldowns back and makes Barrack feel a little bit like old Barrack, but maybe not quite as powerful as we're used to the engineer being.
Yeah, if anything, I would say that he needs to hold on to this point for as long as possible and see if blue team can really force him out, but they haven't really found any ground to be gained here. Bomb King's holding Barn by himself. Ash is forcing things on the side here to make her way in the high ground. It seems like already they're doing a great job at doing that much. Already finds one. Bomb King rolls right on through as he's going to try to find what he can. Manages to blow up, but doesn't find any willing participants to get hit by the King Bomb. As the Grumpy Bomb gets tossed out once again. It's going to be a lot of ultimates and a lot of CCUs to make sure that everyone gets zoned out, and you have the Blade Dance, of course, as well on the side of Tiberius, but he's going to hold on to that. Everyone else on the side of Parallax Gaming not only capture the point, but they even have a zone in their back pocket.
Yeah, they're already getting aggressive, but Darius, I like how he's just watching one angle, but Specs, he's so smart, he just hard dives, knowing that Darius can't save himself, gets so low, has one last cooldown, but he's just so isolated and ready for Parallax to collapse on him.
Already, it seems like he is going to get collapsed on. If anything, the Assert Dominance is here. She's holding on to it, and we know that Dintig sort of wants to use it based off of how he was looking up for a second. I mean, not only was he trying to hit those marks, it seemed like he was trying to force that ultimate for a second as soon as he gets brought low. Same thing for Corvus, but Tiberius is here to help things out. May not even have to use it if he rotates himself right around. Midtow with a nice double kill. Going to find plenty of opportunities for him to find more and more damage into the team, and even manages to kill the Shaolin as he's escaping while he's invisible, by the way. A minute and 30 seconds is still available to the boys in blue as they have to try and fight back and defend as harshly as they can. Divider goes up, and if anything, it doesn't seem like really anyone's going to be able to touch. They have to force out the rewind on the side of Atlas already, and he goes down. And the worst part about that one, Kresnik, and I heard your side, I know what you're sighing about, use the heat haze immediately at the last second as the card is rolling in, and now you don't have it for this point fight.
Fun, it could have been so good too. He was there, just accidentally broke line of sight for 1 second with the little ice blocks next to the point, so wasn't really able to keep the contest up. So just brutal that's what they're going to be missing here as they go further in. Plus now Parallax going to build even more items. They're going to have Midtown with the cut level 2 now, and a bunch of other stuff for Parallax to be able to pick up. They have enough credits for Master Riding 2 on both the tanks. They already have Master Riding 3 on Outlander to keep up and get those dismounts early. Just a lot of things not really in Tempest's favor. They got that first point. They just need to have these ultimates really counter anything Parallax want if they want to walk away with this game.
Alright, with the score being 3-1, it seems like Tempest team have to make something work for them now. And it seems like they want to try and at least show off some contesting on the side of Barn. But as soon as Fernando goes to point, he gets melted. Now you have the Blade Dance. They want to force things right here, right now. Parallax Gaming move in, but a good cripple is going to be enough to make sure that Tiberius can't use that Blade Dance anymore that he might want to assert dominance all the way in the back line. They managed to find one. Shaolin is down, but the rest of them have to find some sort of way to make it back to point, as already there's percentages gained and gained on the side of Parallax Gaming, and then you have a King Bomb rolling right on through the ground, like a landmine almost, if anything, and Parallax Gaming are going to find themselves at a 4-1 with the Bomb King.
I mean, the fact that they've invented the submarine King Bomb strategy, truly right, revolutionary gameplay from them there. But no, I mean, just a visual thing. Sometimes when people are going into walls like that, it just tends to pull the camera down in the spectator, but not obviously in the actual game. We are very used to seeing what he normally looks like. But Parallax, other than that defense by Tempest team, where they spent literally every single ultimate in the game, more or less, to defend that, they kind of looked in control the entire time, and we'll take a look at the stats to see if that kind of says the same thing, and it looks like it will with the damage so firmly in their favor. I think Walther and Shapiro actually did a decent job. I mean, both have managed to out-damage, it looks like, a Spexy on this Bomb King, who I thought was really impactful, but at the end of the day, the tanks kind of struggled. I think when they got further, and Kronz and Dintik were just all over them the majority of that game.
58,000 damage for Midtown. I mean, that is leaps and bounds over what Retlaw and Shapiro already have. But I agree with you. They weren't falling that far behind. I mean, they did more than the Spexy. They did more on the Bomb King, considering the fact that he was holding Barn by himself. You would have thought that his numbers were skyrocketing, if anything. But I think that has more of a testament to more of Fernando's shielding than does anything else, as he, as Midtown had to dedicate the record 3 to make sure that shield was broke as quickly as possible. And once again, I mean, that's a pretty great look for Parallax, but I feel like we say that all the time, right? I mean, they're not #1 seed for no reason at the same time. So, I mean, Tempest team, hopefully they'll be able to figure out what went wrong that game. I mean, maybe they need to step a few things up. We did mention it a little bit before, like Shapiro had to sort of play back. He couldn't really contest against Bomb King or really anyone on their team. Zen loses a lot of those trades to a lot of those different characters. So hopefully maybe they'll... Do you feel like the draft had something to do with it? Could they have drafted a little bit better, or was it more just how they played their characters that it came down to that?
I don't think their draft was that awful, honestly. I feel like they just gave Parallax too good of a draft, right? I mean, I don't think Shaolin, Zin, Nando, Atlas is the worst combination. I mean, Corvus too, obviously, but support kind of not as in the conversation there. I just think giving them Tiberius, Ash, BK, Genos on a map, and I don't think Redemption was really going for dismounts either. Only Outlander was really the one actually trying to make that happen. When it can be so impactful on that map, they were just leaning too heavily into the reactive style, and sometimes it worked. I mean, on that last mid, they killed 2 of Parallax as they tried to push, but really weren't able to get much else from that point onward. But here onto map number 2, Parallax, since they lost the coin flip but won the first map, they still get to pick the map that they want to go to, and it's going to be Jaguar Falls. And I think it makes sense for about what we expect between these two teams. One of the narratives I've been talking about recently between most teams and on Jaguar Falls in particular teams go to Jaguar Falls when you think you're better than the other team. Because a lot of people think the better team wins on Jaguar Falls, right? Unless there's some really wacky draft that you lean into, whether it be like a pirate ship with Makoa, Terminus, and Barrack on top of each other on the point kind of draft. Most of the time, if you play Jaguar Falls better, you're going to win the game at the end of the day. So Parallax, they're clearly feeling confident, and they should be after that last game to take us here.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully we'll see a little bit of more of a target bans, I believe. I mean, towards the BK. I mean, the Bomb King played a pretty big role in how that match went. Sure, he got out damaged by both of the DPS on the side of Tempest team, but even still, it was a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you have to give props to a BK that's holding Barn by himself. I mean, that might be one of the first times I've seen that actually be the case, right? I mean, typically the off tanks with them, but in this situation, that's not the case. So Zen and Rom are going to be banned away by Parallax, while Tempest team are actually going to get rid of the Atlas this time around. They don't want it, and they don't want Parallax to have it since they are first pick. That's going to be an even bigger look for them, considering the fact that now Parallax have the map pick of their own. This is their map pick, I believe. Tempest had it last time. Now Parallax Gaming have Jaguar Falls this time, so that's going to be pretty hard to play into something Parallax are very clearly comfortable on, like a lot of other teams we've seen pick Jaguar Falls.
Yeah, for sure. Parallax definitely have the experience on here, and they pick up Ashe. We're assuming for Dintic to be able to get away with a lot. Dintic was all over Tempest last game, so I think it makes sense to pick up the Ashe on a map where she could be performing better, but there's still a lot open that Tempest can take from, and Corvus and Vivian is kind of terrifying. Just a little bit. We got to hope that Parallax have an answer maybe to this Vivian that we don't know just yet, and might as well repeat what happened last time, right? Ashe Bomb King started on Ice Mines. It's still a compact map, and they're still going to be able to get away with quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Bomb King is going to be a huge role here, or a huge factor, I should say, on the side of Parallax, especially since we've seen him control these choke points beforehand, and we know what Bomb King does well. And if anything, that's something that Parallax want to play to his strengths on. Ying is going to be locked in the support role here. Not one that everyone's jumping at to even really pick, and I could say the same thing for Khan. In the same fact of that, right? I mean, we're seeing two characters that haven't really been picked. Doesn't mean they're that bad. It just means that other picks are better. And that's what it comes down to sometimes. Sometimes you definitely want a lot of those stronger picks, and a triple DPS comp on the side of Parallax Gaming, if anything, that's going to be hardcore aggression. If anything, Khan and Inara, they definitely have their work out for him.
Yeah, for sure, to try to stay alive against the Talus Andros running them down. I think Andros specifically, going so late in a region where I feel like he's performed generally pretty well into them, and I don't even know if that's really the answer. I don't know if, to be fair, I also don't know if there even is an answer after what Parallax have drafted, but Cassie, she'll be able to trade against one of them, but not necessarily all of them, especially if they're getting supported by that Ying. An Illusory Grift, all of those characters running at you, that is just a lot of damage to live through, and I do not know if Tempest, even with the Inara and Khan, one of the primary defensive cores in terms of tanks, can really make it through. It's just an overwhelming amount of damage that they're gonna have on the side of Parallax.
Yeah, and then I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about Cassie being in the last pick column as well. I mean, we saw Parallax last round on Ice Mines. I mean, maybe that was just because of the map, or maybe it was because of a respect ban and Tempest team, but they got rid of Victor, right? Why not run the double backliner here? I mean, that verticality is going to play a huge role, and if Vivian dies instantly, you're going to need somebody to take care of that Androx with that verticality, right? Make sure he keeps him off of Khan, since that's one of the things that Khan struggles the most into is characters that have that sort of upward momentum. So we can only time will tell. We can only see how these compositions are going to go against one another once the match actually starts here, even though we're already in the spawns right now. Anything that stands out to you sort of in terms of talents? Doesn't really seem like that's the case for me right now.
No, nothing really crazy. I mean, you of course expect to see Impulse coming out when you're against this double flank composition, and the builds also look fairly standard too, and then maybe some stuff we'll talk about with Dintic here on this Talus. Talus definitely the sleeper pick here, the one that's kind of not as expected, I would say, but I like how he's playing this, just kind of stalking them on the side and waiting for his chance to go in, because Talus is all about your timing.
Already moving into the back line, trying to break the shield as best as possible against Khan. Uses the Rune of Travel to take it back, but they already found not one, but two kills on the side of Parallax Gaming, as already they make it a third. Midtown with a double, and that's going to be another kill in favor for them. 4 members already down in the match. It's just started.
Yeah, they're already so aggressive with their composition. I like how they just grouped up right near when they needed to collapse on someone. Again, just timing great by them. And Dintic, hey, free rune of travel, free dismounts. Deny everyone from being able to touch because there's really not a ton of mobility on the side of Tempest team other than what? Corvus, and he's not throwing his life away for it. So Parallax should run away with this, but Tempest seem to want to force the issue.
Already, just do have to give a little bit more consideration as to how they're pushing into these fights, and that's why I said that, because Inara pushes up a little bit too far. Sure, Vivian gets one, but at the same time, Talos trades out one life for his teammates, because immediately they still seem to be in control here pretty heavily on the side of Parallax Gaming. Tempest team are the ones that try and push into them to see if they can make anything work, but at the end of the day, Parallax still come out on top of this one, and you got in the cursed arm in the back pocket for the boys in blue. So you have 2 minutes remaining, and the car has already made it halfway. What do you do here if you're Tempest, Krezzik? Do you see anything that's glaring? Like, how can they play this better?
I just don't know if there's any way for them to play it significantly better with how much they're grouping here. And I mean, what do you do with this? Maybe, I guess, shoot him because he lives through a lot of it, but they're sending all these ults in, and Darius can't live through 2 ults in a row.
Already, here we go. Already, as they're still pushing in. They haven't really given them any sort of room or any breathing room on the side of Tempest team, as most of them have been playing in spawn. This is oppression. This is an oppression session, if anything. 2-0 for Parallax Gaming. I don't really know what to say about that one. Tempest scrambling to see if they can sort of gain any sort of ground, but they weren't able to find any that round. 2-0 for Parallax Gaming.
I mean, they got, I guess, the 1 kill on Espexi,
right.
And that's kind of their only really shining light that they can carry forward here. Tough to play into this composition. It's really hard, I think, for them to pin anybody down on the other side because they're all able to kind of get away. Espexi has the Poppy Bomb. Everyone else has some form of ability to live or some way to buy time. Only saving grace, I think, for Tempest right now is the ultimates that they have. I mean, Overpower is fantastic. Seismic Crash is fantastic. A couple different ways for them to respond to the things that Parallax are going to do. But, I mean, a good Assert Dominance gets a 1 kill, and then maybe if you don't have the Overpower hitting there, you might not be able to answer anything else fast enough.
Let's see how they change things up this time around instead of Tempest team. So they're getting pushed out by Sun, if anything. As the Illusion Rift gets things started off. Assert Dominance all to the back line, followed by the Overpower. Vivian has no say in the matter of what's happening to her. That is unfortunate. And already Dintic with a triple kill. That's going to be huge. Spexy is there. He's going to find another one for himself. You have the Earthen Guard on Inara, but once that runs out, you got a dead Inara. And that's going to be plenty of damage found into Tempest team, pumped into them. And plenty of percentage in the back pocket of Parallax Gaming. My goodness, I think that might have been the most I've seen dedicated to a Vivian in a while.
Yeah, it worked out, though. I mean, also want to kill Vivian that much, but they're too distracted back here. No one can get through because of Dintic finally getting off of the point dance session with Espexi to fight. And Parallax, even with only Mitau zoning and Kron's getting overpowered, they still managed to cap that, but they want to get aggressive. I mean, they want to make them pay for how distracted that fight was.
3-0 already for Parallax Gaming. Is now Tempest team have to try to find some sort of way to make this work for them. Vivian found one, but they even find, it's almost like tick for tack. If anything, they find 1 for 1 almost every time. This is the first time the Tempest team have found the sort of advantage they needed here. As the shield gets dropped, Vivian managed to land some fadeaway shots into Ashe, and she finds herself another nice kill with some more credits in the back pocket, forcing the rest of Parallax Gaming back and away from the point for a little bit longer. How much longer is more so the question, as now they have to already, now they've already made their way back and already found a kill at the end of the day. True Power gets utilized here, or at least it seems like it was. They cancel it almost instantly. See if they could burn anything on the side of Tempest team. Nothing's going to really get burned here. More and more kills are following suit on the side of blue, as now they get rid of Inara. There's not much left Tempest team can do except for wait.
Yeah, I think the way they did it was they wanted to use the True Power, then they realized they had the pick on the Corvus guaranteed, so it didn't take 180 quickly to cancel it and preserve 70% of that ultimate, so definitely not that bad. I have no idea what just happened to Dintic, but apparently he escaped because of it. What a wild knockback. I'm assuming that was something by the Cassie. We'll check the loadout after this round if we have a chance, but great wall by Darius, slowing them down, giving them a chance to breathe, but look at main, look at Espexi. It won't be for long.
Seconds already down on the clock as they find not 1 but 2 On the side of Parallax Gaming, once again, there's two of them being forced by the staircase over here. They have to find their way out, but the reversal is going to find another last hit as the kinetic burst gets used on Khan. Sure, he makes his way back, but all he does is find himself in the welcoming arms of the enemy, as now no one else can make it on the side of Tempest team Parallax Gaming with a very swift 2-0.
Yeah, a quick turnaround. I mean, the last game was, they looked about the same as they did near part of the last game, but
yeah,
they didn't have any stops in the way, not even a speed bump. I felt like maybe a couple deaths, but that cart I feel like rolled straight through effectively the entire time, so more or less non-stop there. We'll take a look at the stats for that game, and even though I feel like we both know how it's going to look for these teams and see how things ended up turning out for them. Low damage, of course, across the board for the members of Tempest team, I think to the surprise of nobody, but a lot of damage soaked up by those tanks. 70,000 by Darius soaked up in a quick 4-0, and Spexy and Mitau kind of just ran away with it.
Yeah, already. I mean, 55,000 and 50,000 damage respectively. No one, even on the side of Tempest team, breaking over 30k here. Credit to Shapiro for, making it at least 1k behind the 30k mark, but even still, they don't find much there. They just pretty much get trampled. I feel like that aggression was a little bit too much, and Shapiro was under a lot of pressure there. Same thing for Vivian, same thing for all of Tempest's team, right? But it's more specifically on the conversation we had during draft, right? It's the fact that, sure, you have the Cassie. I don't know if that's the answer for them, because you still have to deal with getting rid of Mitau when he's in the sky, right? That verticality not only hurts Khan, but it also hurts Cassie. You got to find some sort of way to deal with that. And if you can't, then you have a situation like what just happened on Jaguar Falls, where everyone has sort of steamrolled over the opposing team. And sure, you have an answer for one of them, but not for the draft as a whole.
Yeah, and you're talking about Mitau being in the sky. What about Dintic being in the sky, apparently?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Imagine how terrifying that would be if he got sent flying into the back line instead of flying away. You got to think about everybody trying to hit you from above there when the game goes on. But here, the next map is going to be picked by Tempest team now that we are in the losers pick section of the match, and it's Brightmarsh. So they say, hey, listen, I know we just lost on a really close range map. I think we can turn it around. I think we can make this feel like our home turf here. It is a little bit of a different map. It's not necessarily identical. There's definitely, a little bit more high ground focus, a little bit more inside area that's close to the objective that you can play around and kind of need to control with the sightlines it gives you, but close enough where I don't know if I'm feeling great running it straight back here after how good Parallax just looked on Jack.
It's sort of some of the same concepts too, right, that we're so used to seeing on Jaguar Falls. You see a lot of choke points, a lot of these linear angles that people have to hold down. They have to try and push past a lot of these people that might be defending it. And Brightmarsh sort of has that sort of same feel to it. There's a lot more cover here. There's a lot more areas where you can sort of play around, but even in the long run, it's still a lot of choke points that you have to try and break through a lot of these different sight lines, a lot of linear angles. And Tempest team, if they have this in their back pocket, if this is something they feel comfortable enough to play on, then once again, just like you said, they're trying to make it their home turf here, as Zen is going to find his way to the ban column once again, never failing. Tempest team getting rid of that flank again.
Yeah, I guess it must just be really powerful on the second rotation. They just don't want to deal with it coming from Parallax when we know they're going to be able to perform with it at a fairly high level. Tempest team now also banning BK, so finally limiting Spexy a little bit. But again, can you really limit Spexy? I feel like he'll just play something else that he's comfortable with and not really look that bad doing it with Vivian following up. So Parallax, even after kind of shutting it down, they know what it can do. Don't want to see Walther running away with a game with Vivian being able to just dominate. Sometimes you don't have an answer for it.
Tempest team, and this time around, are going to be like, nah, we're going to pick the Ash this time. This is in our back pocket now as they first lock in the off-tank herself that we've been seeing so much prominence of, honestly, forcing a lot of people to, okay, well, I was going to finish my thought, but then I thought what Parallax drafted almost instantly. You have Genos Corvus, Kresnik. Tell me a little bit about that. This is looking pretty good right now.
I think they're pretty good. That's all I can say. No, I can't. Because the buffs they give to the DPS on your team are insane. When you have players like Mitau and Spexy on DPS, imagine them with 25% lifesteal, 15% movement speed, 15% damage boost, plus all the healing that's happening all the time. It's pretty good. I think I'm comfortable saying that it is a pretty good benefit to have with your team. And they even picked a fantastic pocket target with it, Koga. He is great on any input method when he has enough pockets paired with him. And they'll even grab that Inara too, so giving Inara both of those buffs as well whenever she needs them. Also having someone to focus the heals on from the Corvus. A scary lineup for Parallax, but I don't hate Tempest so far either. I don't know how they're going to deal with Genos, Corvus, Koga, and whatever other DPS or tank they pick up for Parallax. It's going to be overwhelming, and they're going to have to get to the late game somehow.
Yeah, this draft makes it a little bit hard to get to the late game, honestly, on the side of Tempest team. I don't really know if they'll be able to make it there, but having that verticality with the Androxus means that Koga might have a little bit of a harder time. Try and see if he can knock him out of the sky. But Victor, in that same vein of thought, can deal with that. They take the Torvald here.
Okay.
Very interesting pick. And of course, we've seen him be picked a lot as a pocket pick. Maybe they thought Parallax was going to lock Torvald last. We've seen Koga Torvald on Brightmarsh before and recently too. Yeah. So maybe that's why.
But fun, we haven't seen Genos, Corvus, Torvald, Koga. We haven't seen the especially really good. Please solo carry us level of focus on that. I think it's just to have a counter. Torvald's pretty good at anti-dive. So if they think that the Koga's going to try to go in, they have that to counter it. But now, even if they deal with them, they're going to have a Strix waiting for them on the other side. Not a happy prospect for anybody on the receiving end of the damage coming from that Strix, especially since, I mean, they banned it game 1, right? They're scared of Mitau on this Strix, and now they're going to have to deal with it on a map where it's fantastic. I mean, Strix, to be fair, I think Strix is playable on any map in the game when run right, and of course Midtown's going to run it right. It's still a terrifying comp coming out of Parallax right now. Either of those DPS pocketed by all of those things. I don't want to see it on the other side.
Yeah, neither do I. I really wouldn't want to be Tempest team right now going up against a draft like this. Parallax just have so much power on their side. You've got both pocket healers. You've got Inara, the best dang tank in the game right now. You've got both of considerably two of the best pocket healers in the game, two of the best healers in the game right now, if anything. And now you have two DPS to sort of all top it off. Tempest team have their work cut out for them. Sure, you got the Torvald for the anti-dive, but even still, there's a lot to worry about other than that on the side of Parallax Gaming. So hopefully they've got a plan here. Strix starts off with the Wrecker and Nimble almost instantly. They know what the plan is. They know they want to keep them off of their backliners, but how long will Tempest team actually be able to last here, if anything?
Not sure, especially because it's going to be Klogga coming out here to apply pressure onto them. So interesting. We don't really get to see that very much, but I guess it makes sense with the pockets that they have, plus focusing on raw sustain here. Not sure how I feel about the use of guild tactics, but we're going to see how Klogga can fare in a competitive game. We haven't seen it in forever since the nerfs, and it's going to be interesting, but he's very squishy, and one little shot from an Andro or a Victor at the same time can just delete him from the game.
Alright, let's see how this works out for him as the Dragon Stance gets brought out almost instantly. Slice after slice, ripping through the air itself, seeing if he can find the last hit, and there we go. First blood on the side of blue as Androxus finds one pick for himself. Mittal, though, is able to trade some things out, but Androxus has not fallen flat on this one. Already a triple kill for the Androxus here. Might make this a quadra of anything. Stand right here, staring down the Inara. Punches him immediately in the face. That's going to be a delayed quadra kill for Androxus.
That was a penta. That was a full penta. He got the first kill to start. He got every single kill in that fight. Walter just wiped the floor with them. And Tempest, they're looking like they're running away with this already. Because the percentages is on the side of blue, as no one has really been able to touch on the side of Parallax Gaming here. They've netted themselves some percentages, but Tempest team, okay, I see you guys. I see how you're trying to plan this one out, and Torvald gets taken out almost instantly. Of course, as soon as I say that, I guess it's the Castle's Curse or whatever the case may be, whatever you want to call it. But in this situation, they just played that a little bit better. Parallax Gaming are going to find themselves more and more percentages on the point, as now Tempest team have to wait a little bit longer to make their way back to the objective. Yeah, Tempest, they're a little bit zoned out right now with Spexy. He is living with Skewer somehow, and he gets a kill with Skewer. There's no way that just doesn't happen. Spexy, you gotta stop this man. You are, even on one of the squishiest characters in the game, he is just running rampant all over them, Spawn. Using the little bit of healing from the Skewer to stay alive, and he might even catch Darius too.
Use the ultimate to see if he can make sure that the Ashe is out of the picture here, even for the time being. She may have dashed away, but Androx is going to be able to get that cemented kill onto Koga. Now the card is rolling right on through, and Nara wants to provide a little bit of support to the Strix on the side here. As Androxus is there, Torvald bubbles him as soon as he gets Void Grip to prevent him from dying anytime soon. They have the Accursed Arm as well. There's 2 minutes, but it is not anywhere close to being over this round. As Seismic Crash gets used, they find the pick on 1. They use the Whirlwind to counter things out. Accursed Arm as well, but no damage, no pick being found on the side of Tempest team, as Parallax are still holding on strong. The start of a kill on Strix, though, might be how fate has changed here. It was what it seems like. Assert dominance all the way into the back line, manages to catch him out for a little bit longer. There's still not going to be a kill gained on the side of them. Skewers his way out, gets healed back up, double pocket, a little bit too strong. As they're finding the damage and finding the kills to match.
Ridiculous poke coming out of Aspexy, and I can't believe he's kiting all of this. He must be picking this in rank, because he looks very comfortable here with them rolling
right
over the rest of them. Redemption caught out and spawned, but too much damage from the Luminary boosted Koga. Unreal amount of damage. 748 per shot this quickly. He is just rolling over them. Again, while being relatively easy to kill, but he doesn't seem to care very much about that. With him just being willing to skewer through them and not worrying about the burst damage on the other side.
Exactly, and I mean, this is a little bit hard for them to try and break through. I mean, they aren't that far behind. Well, they're pretty far behind on the side of damage in terms of Tempest team. I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I was like, how do I word this where I don't sound as mean? But I can in this scenario. I mean, the numbers are there. I mean, they're leading by a pretty significant margin, and it's showing. The fact that they are on these streaks, sure, if Strix has died, his streak is gone, but even Koga has found himself back on another streak. They're able to apply this pressure, and that's not the type of performance you would expect to see after one of your teammates gets a delayed penta. That's not what you would expect on the side of Tempest team.
Yeah, definitely not. You'd want a little bit more from it, but Walter's the only one who's really showing up here, honestly, so far, after that initial penta and 2 more kills to follow. Not much else coming from them. Look at Aspexy. They're shutting him down hard, but he manages to just walk away. The Torvald Nullify doesn't connect, and they don't even save Shapiro in time.
Oh, man. He goes down not only once, but might even go down a couple more times. That's how Parallax is going to keep on playing. Use the Entropic Breach as well. He even mix it in with a little bit of flair here. Sprinkle the salt right on, with the Koga ultimate to follow right on through. Accursed Arm is going to find at least one of the healers, but you're still finished off the mini boss. You got to deal with the main boss on the pocket here, but Retlaw says no problem and finds a pick of his own, but the Seismic Crash is what forces things out on the side of Tempest team. Whirlwind has to get used to prevent their team from dying any quicker. 99% for Parallax Gaming. Now the claws are constantly being, man, this is the most I have ever heard this sound in my life. Anything, and he actually knocks off Genos on the side thanks to the Torvald ultimate. They take care of one of the healers as soon as he comes back. He is skewering everywhere, but the Narwhal, his own teammate. No. Sometimes it be your own homies, if anything, and they lose the objective capture here. 3-0 already for Parallax Gaming.
Oh, friendly fire from Kronz onto Aspexy there, but I mean, they still look unstoppable. You can't even be too mad about that. You just laugh at him and say, oh, who has the perfect game? Pretty sure it's still me right now. No, he had 1 death earlier, but he's still running through with that streak. He wanted to make sure he's the only one on fire for them here. Look at this pressure right now. Walter finally respawning, and he's kind of the saving grace from Tempest team as we hear just these claws non-stop going in. Walter just can't make it work now, though. They're just too aware that he's the only member on the side of Tempest really making a difference.
Tossing out more claws. They just don't stop here as the Assert Dominance gets used, but already a Void Grip sets them up for plenty of damage. Beautiful wall as well to make sure they can catch out one. Tropic Breach directly on whoever might be behind them. And just zoning him out. Actually, he hasn't even dropped it. He's just holding it right now. See if he can drop it anywhere. He's going to opt against that one, as now Koga has just been swinging claw after claw. Who can make it on the point? The touch seems like Ash here, and she has a certain dominance. She has to use it now, but gets sniped out of the sky again. That's a huge misplay on the side of Ash. They managed to find 2. That's a great look for them, at least. They find another one. And already, 1:10 still remaining with the cart this close. They finally put the shoe on the other foot on the side of Tempest team. Beautiful shots from Retlaw here on the Androxus. He manages to find a little bit more damage, if anything, and plenty of more kills on the side of Tempest team.
He gets the shot through the crack, and Tintic tries to get an ult off, but just can't seem to make it work here with them all fighting over here inside this room. But they don't see Aspexy going in behind even as they fight. I am very concerned about
No
this,
way.
Fawn.
There's no way. Stop. Stop. Okay, thank God Grover's back there. Wait, but it's just Grover, though. It's just Grover, though. Please tell me somebody else is coming back. Team, no! You can't be serious. You can't. You can't. You can't. You, Tempest team.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy I saw a Spexy in the back. I am so happy I saw a Spexy mounting behind.
You cannot be serious.
I saw him.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that.
I saw him uncontested on the side. I'm like, oh, sweet, he's going to have a sick flank here. I'll go to his POV. And then I see that he's got the goggles up on the side of Shapiro, but he can't see anything else around him. No peripheral. Goes right past him to the objective. And Shapiro was so close. He could have gone back. Why didn't he go back, Fawn?
I don't know. Go to the post game
right,
stats.
Game stats.
Go. Okay. All right. Well, 65,000 damage already for Mittal. I mean, that's a great look for him. Hey, Koga did pretty well as well. I mean, what do you say? How do you save this? 54,000 for Redlaw. I mean, that's pretty good. Shapiro, 53,000 damage. I mean, that's what a great look, man. I mean, what do I?
Fawn, you sound like you're tearing up. Did you put money on this game by any chance? I'm a little concerned with how emotionally affected you are by this right now. So Specs though running away with it on the clog. But I got to shout out to Walther. I'll go back to the KDAs here right now. 9-4 for both of them. But Redlaw, I mean Walther over there 13-5. I thought that was one hell of a game by him, honestly, on this Androxus. Really keeping things going for them, but unfortunately he could not kill the enemies and also go back and stop the back cap in time. Just a little bit too much of a weight for him to bear to keep their hopes alive.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm seeing F's in the chat here, if anything. I mean, what a set to end on for the Brazilian region, if anything. Salute Tempest team in the chat. Do something. I don't know, man. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be right into North America, if anything. I'm going to be excited to see Pickle Pepper versus Snappin'.
شكرا.